Nope.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Relationships take work. A lot of us will drop anything to go help someone we care about. We'll go out of our way to treat other people well, but how often do we give ourselves the same treatment? Y'all know I love a hammock, and I did get some hammock time in yesterday. But some people don't like hammocks, Lee. And sometimes a hammock isn't enough. This month, BetterHelp Online Therapy wants to remind you to take care of your most important relationship, the one you have with yourself. Whether it's hitting the gym, hitting the hammock, or even trying therapy, you are your greatest asset, so invest the time and effort into yourself like you do for other people. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours, so give it a try and see why over 2 million people have used BetterHelp Online Therapy. Right now, No Dunks listeners can get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/nodunks. That's BETTERHELP.com/nodunks.
Good morning, sweet world, and welcome to the No Dunks podcast on the Athletic Network. It's Thursday, April 7th. My Wi-Fi connection is already gone to shit. Alongside me, thanks to the power of technology, fingers crossed, Tass Millis.
Hey, man, welcome back.
It's great to be back. We got our top shot hot boy over there, Trey Kirby.
Hey!
Yo.
And making the magic happen. Filling in all week long for JD, super guest producer Andrew Schlecht. What's up, Andrew?
Still hanging out in the yard with the boys.
Nice. Yes. Something's going on here with my yard and my Wi-Fi and my computer. I'm calling it now. I'm going to drop out at some point and Tass take the reins and run with it like he did yesterday. You guys had a great show. I did a little load management, Trey. Just took it off as we get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, it looks like your Wi-Fi is doing the same. Hopefully it's all back ready for next week. Kicking it. Had a great time up in the mountains, it looks like, though. Seeing some dogs. One dog that looks like a lion, if I'm being quite honest. A lionish dog.
That dog that looks like a lion at one point was chasing like 11 deer through the woods. I don't know what he was going to do if he ever caught them. He didn't, but he gave it a go. And Luna was a little more baffled. Like, what is going on? What does he think he's doing? But anyway, shout out to the stream team. Joining us live right now on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment, share the show. Email in your NBA questions to nodunks@theathletic.com, as you always do. Before we get in to last night's games, we got some fun questions too, Tass, about like anticipated playoff matchups we want to see and players under pressure heading into the postseason and all of that. We had a couple of wedgies, and I say a couple because we had one last night, which we'll show you in a second, but you guys missed one. I go away one day and you guys miss a wedgie. Keeps me up at night. But luckily the No Dunks faithful was tweeting it in, Instagramming it in, and this was Tuesday night. It's Yurtseven with the very rare block/foul wedgie on a Bridges dunk attempt as it jams in there. I think some technicals were even handed out on this play, if I have that correct, because there was a little jarring going on after they took a look at it. So that was number 35. That was on Tuesday.
That's an impressive wedgie right there. Because, man, that would have been a monster dunk by Miles Bridges. To even get the ball to the rim still is impressive to me. The underneath underboob wedgie, if you will, just hanging out at the bottom there.
Yeah. So, all right, good stuff. That's Tuesday. And then we had another one last night. So wedgie number 36, and this one also on a foul call. We'll give the credit to Covington Tass because it was the dunk, and I don't believe there was sort of any contact from Craig on the actual ball. He obviously hit his arm and he went down hard. He was okay, but that's wedgie 36. So there we go, 2 and 2 nights.
Yeah, it sure seems like NBA players are aware that we're not getting anywhere close to 50 wedgies, and maybe they're a little antsy, a little feisty, because both these plays, wedgies at the rim,
Yep.
with a block attempt and two block wedgies, very rare in both instances. And that one could have been our first injury on a wedgie ever. Covington went down there. Luckily, he was all right. But I love that first one because we had a fan text in and say, "Hey, you guys missed a wedgie," because I think it happened in this Heat Hornets game because I was there. Source me, but it was questionable. It was on a foul, as you said there, Skeet. So it almost happened too quick. Like there was just a lot happening, but the ball did get wedged. It was a foul, and we had two back-to-back nights. Very nice.
So really, you're right. I mean, very rare that we have a wedgie on a foul call. For that to happen back-to-back wedgies, like I don't think that's ever happened since we've been tracking this. So that was well. And then let's take it to the next level. We had a ledgie last night in the Thunder Jazz game. I know Andrew was watching. And yeah, the ledgie, for those that don't know, not where the ball gets stuck between the backboard and the rim like a wedgie. It just ends up landing perfectly on the back of the rim, and it's on the ledge. It's a ledgie. This was an amazing one, Trey.
That one's amazing because it comes off a bank shot. It's coming off the glass, which you think would mess with all kinds of rotations and stuff, but it was just meant to be. This is the rarest of the ball stalls out there by far. So anytime you see a ledgie, gotta be feeling great.
Oh, yeah. And so Andrew, were you watching this, the Thunder game there? And what did you do when you saw the ledgie?
I was. It's a big night for people who think that magnets are involved with the basketballs. That's the only real explanation for that one. Melvin Frazier Jr. getting his first play with the Thunder last night, gets a ledgie in his very first appearance.
Here, say his name again.
Melvin Frazier.
Who? Holy moly.
That's why it's great to have Andrew producing because he's saying names I've never heard of. Lovely, fresh name. I thought it was a lie when someone said that there was a ledgie because when it just never happens. I figured that person meant a pigeon on top of the back.
Right.
Because people could confuse those two very, very defined terms. If we know what they are now, people. It's wedgie, ledgie, and pigeon.
Yeah, I think is it Thurl Bailey on the call for the Jazz? Do I have that right?
He is.
On that clip, he's like, we know what a wedgie is, but what do we call this? So he's perplexed because like Tass said, these happen almost never. I mean, there's been...
You can go years without seeing a ledgie.
Yeah, like I feel like we've only ever seen, since we've been counting it, like, I don't know, 3 maybe? If that, 2?
Definitely not very many, but I gave all credit to Andrew on this one because since he's been producing the show for this last, week, we've had a couple of 20 rebound games from Oklahoma City Thunder, and now we're getting a ledgie. This is crazy stuff. It was meant to be.
Yeah, that's right. We got a guy named Horde getting boards and a guy named Melvin sticking a ledgie. Amazing. Okay, let's get into some of the games. And I'm going to throw 2 at you here first, Tass, because they go hand in hand. We're looking at the East play-in race. We had the Nets erasing a 21-point deficit. They sweep the season series with the Knicks. So they come back, they get that victory. And then we had Trae Young scoring 30 to help the Hawks pull away from the Zards, 118. 103. These teams jockeying there in the Eastern Conference play-in. So which one do you want to address?
Well, let's start with the Nets because I know they feel like they just have to play one quarter to win. And that's what happened in the regular season and quite possibly in the play-in tournament. One good Nets quarter can win a basketball game. They were down going into the fourth quarter. They didn't play D at all for the first 3 quarters. It's like the Knicks didn't feel them at all. They're playing like they're playing a 50 and over league where they're giving everyone space. I won't touch you. So the Knicks held a 10-point lead. And then I don't know about you guys, but it felt like the Nets kind of were celebrating a championship when they went on that run in the fourth quarter. They destroyed the Knicks. And it felt like every time KD and Kyrie hit a shot, they were running around, pumping themselves up, really banging on their chests. And it was their first game together in Madison Square Garden because, Kyrie has sat out so much and because of injuries last season. So the first time they got together and played together in Madison Square Garden, and it felt like they knew they just were going to turn it on for one quarter. And Kevin Durant in the fourth quarter alone had 13 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists, ready just to knock down every single shot and create space for each other. And he ended up having 32, 10, and 11 assists in this game. And he had to play the whole second half for the Nets to win this game as they try and move up in the play-in standings. They control their own destiny. If they win their last 2 games, they finish 7th and will host a play-in tournament game. And I mentioned Durant's minutes in the second half because he has to do a lot, not only offensively, but Trey keeps saying it. He is their best defender on the perimeter. They had him on RJ Barrett. So they had 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", whatever Kevin Durant is, against the wing player for the Knicks, who is their best perimeter scorer. Kevin Durant has to do so much. Then he has to go board and be a big man as well. I think head coach Steve Nash hasn't ruled out Ben Simmons this season because he knows that Ben Simmons would be useful, even just to give KD a breath, a blow for a 5-minute run where Kevin Durant doesn't have to play every second half minute in every playoff game. So I think they do control their own destiny in terms of the play. And like if they play this well, whoever they play, whether it's the Hawks, the Hornets, or the Cavs, I think they can win. But it would really help if Ben Simmons was back. Good news for them that Seth Curry was back in this game. Mm-hmm. Seth Curry is so key as the third guy. You're trying to cover KD, you're trying to cover Kyrie, and then Seth can create his own a little bit. It was weird before the game. They were saying that Seth Curry's ankle was so bad he may have to sit out the last 3 games. Then he shows up and he starts banging home shots. So he was important. And the Nets, they're again, they urinate in the eye of the regular season. They don't care. And on the second night of back-to-backs coming into this game, they were 2-11. 2-11 on the second night of back-to-backs. They just don't take the regular season all that seriously, and then they end up winning this game against a Knicks team that looked like they were playing well, but then the Nets just showed all their firepower that they have, and good night.
Trey, what did you think of the retrocast? I don't know if you dipped into a little ESPN2 to see this Knicks-Nets celebration, I guess, NBA 75 celebration, taking us through like the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s with all the graphic presentations and the black and white at first. Did you see any of that?
No.
Oh.
No, I only saw it a little bit on the recaps. You know, they'll be like, oh, this is what you could be seeing over at ESPN2. But I guess I was living in the early 90s when there was just the regular ESPN out there.
Right.
How are those score bugs looking? I saw they went with the old one where they just flash it up like like once a quarter. We should go back to that so you don't know what the score is.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't watch the whole thing on ESPN2, Tass. I don't know if you caught any. I feel like, were you tweeting about it at all? I can't remember. But anyway, it was fine. Whatever. I mean, it's always like, I guess I was a little confused why they were doing it last night,
people would watch a game that doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
same reason they did the Marvel superheroes thing last year. Yeah. Which would you prefer, seeing 75 years of NBA score bugs or 30 years of Marvel history? Take your pick.
Well, at least last night they had a lot of, well, some people hate them, I guess, but we're interviewing a lot of legends. You know, they had Marv on for a while and Kareem and Oscar and stuff like that. So there was that nice little twist. It was totally fine, Cass. I mean, that's what I thought. It's a classic. Okay, that was different if you wanted to watch it.
Yeah, I watched exactly the same amount as Trey. I saw the scoreboard. I saw the yellow jackets. I thought that was the most prominent thing that I saw. The yellow blazers, the mustard blazers, kind of nice.
Yeah,
kind of nice.
Yeah, sure. That's it.
That's all I watched. Yeah, I mean, the scoreboard hasn't really changed all that much. I know it's black and white, but really just shows you the score like it did 40 years ago. It's not like crazy different. I mean, the colors are different. You know, they update a lot faster. Timeouts are on there. Hasn't changed that much though.
I at least like that they did, like, again, it was like in the 60s, then it was updated to the 70s version, then the 80s. Like that was fine. Like as the quarters went along. Like I think in the fourth quarter it was like, here's the 90s, you know, sort of classic score bug. And that takes you back as growing up in that time. You're like, oh yeah. I remember that look. I remember that vibe. Honestly, it was giving me flashbacks to our April 1st throwback show where we pretended we were doing a 90s show. I was like, oh, yeah, that was the same idea. And I think even we put more effort into it maybe than they did. Anyway. Okay, so anyway, Nets get the win. any comments on that one, Trey, the actual game, or the Hawks, keeping close here? Like, they're playing for something here, these teams. I mean, Tess says, are the Nets really scared of whoever they'd have to play? Probably not. But I'll tell you what, I bet they'd rather play just one game and win once to get into the actual playoffs than to have to do it twice. And, obviously getting into that 9-10 spot.
Well, that's all they're going to need to do, Skeets. The Nets are going to get the 7 seed pretty easily here. They have to beat Cleveland. That's a big game, so not really worried about that one because, the Nets are going to show up for a big game. I'm honestly a little bit more worried about them beating the Indiana Pacers in their last game of the season, just because that's the kind of game you could easily overlook and be like, whatever. It's the last game of the year. They don't want to win. We should take this one easily. Next thing you know, Tyrese Halliburton puts up a 20-point, 20 assist kind of game just because nobody's locked in except for one player. And that can definitely make a difference. That being said, I do think the Nets are going to take care of business. And then I think they're going to destroy whoever they play in the 8th seed because they know that anytime they need to, they can go to that smaller lineup and be impossible to guard. It's KD and Kyrie who are 2 of the best ISO players in the league. Then they throw out Patty Mills, who had 4 for 4 from 3-point shooting last night in the 4th quarter. Seth Curry, who's been one of the better 3-point shooters in the league for the past 3 or 4 seasons. And then Bruce Brown, who's one of their better defenders and a solid short roll guy who can distribute. That's an unstoppable lineup, and they just have to play enough defense. And I like what Tass is saying about Kevin Durant. He's got to do a whole bunch out there, but that's better. KD loves when he's got a ton on his shoulders. We saw it earlier in the year when, James Harden was sitting out, Kyrie Irving was sitting out. There were injuries up and down, and it was like Kevin Durant and 4 guys who could have been in the G League, and he was going out and playing 45 minutes a night just because he loves hooping out there. So that's a tough lineup to stop. They're going to give up points on the other end, but at least when they're playing small, KD can guard on the perimeter, and he can also be a little bit near the rim if they need him to clear the glass and bring the ball up the court. So that's their cheat code, and they've been unlocking it here late in the season. They're going to go into the playoffs most likely on a 5-game win streak. They're peaking at basically the right time, getting all kinds of good news. And who knows what happens with Ben Simmons, but for the play-in tournament, they don't need him at all. I would be shocked if anybody else but the Nets is the 7th seed.
Yeah, and here's a look just quickly at the playoff picture as of this morning, April 7th. Zeroing in on the play-in race there in the East. Yeah, Cleveland still sits at 7th. Nets there at 8th. Hawks, big win again over the Wizards last night. Keeps them, tied with the overall record there with the Nets. But they got the tiebreaker, and then the Hornets at 10. So I guess it's looking likely that Lee's going to get a home Hawks game in the play-in next week. So he'll be down there getting his standing room only tickets for sure. Because it does feel like it's going to be the way it is here. This is my gut with only a couple games left, that it will be probably the Nets beating the Cavs, and then the Cavs getting one more chance against either a Hawks or Hornets, whoever comes out of that one. And it'd be tough to pick against the Hawks right now, the way, Trae Young is playing, and Gallinari with 26 and 10 last night, and Bogey hitting threes. Like, they're playing pretty well too. This without John Collins.
Yeah, this was also sort of like the Nets just turning it on for what they needed to do. I was reminded of Trae Young last year in the postseason when he turned it on against the Knicks, watching the Hawks take care of the Wizards, because Trae was kind of quiet. He had 11 points with about 2.5 minutes left in the 3rd quarter, and then went on a Trae run. Mm-hmm. It was all him to end the 3rd quarter. He scored 14 straight for the Hawks to end that quarter. So he went from 11 to 25 and won this game for them, essentially. So I think there's a good chance that we could see actually Nets Hawks in the 7-8 matchup, because the Nets can give the Cavs another loss there. And if the Hawks win out, they have the tiebreaker over the Cavs. So we could easily see, I think, Nets versus the Hawks, which would be great, which would be Trae visiting New York in a different fashion. It wouldn't be MSG, and that would be superstar versus superstar as well. So, yeah, in a different way. I think the Hawks are getting it together. It feels like a deeper team. They've got a rotation going, but the Nets have the superstars. So that would be an amazing battle. Unfortunately, the Cavs, not playing their best right now and have these injuries. So, we may see a couple teams sort of limp into that tournament. But hopefully they get back Jared Allen and Mobley as the days go on here.
Speaking of a team limping right now, we'll go to the Bulls here next. The Celtics crushed them. They got their 50th victory. They closed in on the number 2 spot in the East, so that's still up in the air. But your Bulls there, Trey, What's the record going around? Everybody wants everybody to know. 1-14, I guess, against the top 4 teams in the East. I feel like that's what it is at this point. But what do you think of this one?
Well, I'm just sorry Obama had to see this. That was sad to me. He shows up there. He's hanging out with Benny the Bull. And, of course, the Bulls got absolutely smoked by another contender. But I checked the standings this morning, and they're still in the playoffs. So still a good season as far as I'm concerned. Celtics had 20 assists on 26 makes in the first half of this one. They finished with 29 easy assists. It was basically if you passed the ball, it was going to be an assist. If you're the Celtics, they finished with 17 threes on 46% shooting from outside. They just never felt the Bulls. The Bulls were never competitive. And this was the potential good matchup in the playoffs for the Bulls, as you know, this is the only singular team that the Bulls have beaten in the top 4, and that was way back in November. I'm sure John Schumann's coming through to dunk on me in the stream team, but at this point, I'm just making sure to get home for Game 3 because I'm not sure there's going to be a Game 6. I'm not sure there's going to be a Game 5, and I don't want to see the sweep game, but it's all good because like I checked this morning, the Bulls still are in the playoffs. Okay. So that's good stuff, but yeah, I don't know what you're going to take from this one. Like Jason Tatum was probably the star of the game for the Celtics, and he scored like 12 points because everybody scored 12 points for the Celtics.
Yeah. Tatum shot 5 of 18 in this one. I guess I would say Jaylen Brown is balling right now. I think it's maybe getting overlooked because of all these the discussions about MVP and even like, oh, who's all NBA? Is Trey done enough? Is he going to get in there and all that? And Jaylen Brown is not going to make an All-NBA team, but my God, when he plays like this, like he's on a nice 5 or 6 game run here, Tabs, where again, he's just putting up incredible numbers, doing it all. And it's just the Celtics they're just a different team as we've seen in the last couple months when he's playing at that level of an all-star type guy. They're dangerous when you pair him with Tatum. So this is just a dominant victory from them, and they look amazing here as we get down to the home stretch.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm sort of overblowing how each of the top Eastern Conference teams has a legit shot at getting to the NBA Finals. And by top teams, I mean Miami, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and the Celtics. I think those 4 teams legitimately, no one would be surprised if any of them made it to the finals. Am I just living in the moment? Because it doesn't feel like there's 4 legit teams year to year that can make it. And I'm not just looking at the record. It's more about how they're playing. I mean, the Raps are only 3 wins less than the 4th place Sixers, but I'm not including them at this point. But is there usually 4 teams?
No, not usually.
No, usually there's a runaway leader. I mean,
there's a runaway leader, then there's a second one you can try and convince yourself, and then very rarely I think you even get into a 3rd team. Good, and then, look, you said 4, and you've got to probably put the Nets in there.
Yeah.
I know you're a believer, so that's 5 that could go to the finals.
Yeah, I do think the Nets have to turn it up somewhere. They can't just play quarter to quarter the way they're doing it. But maybe they do. But still, but you've got 4 teams between 49 and 52 wins, and I don't think it's just that there isn't a 60-win team in there. I just think that all these teams have had a bit of a down part of their season, I guess. And so the Celtics are obviously riding high right now and feeling absolutely great. Well, yeah, as the Bulls said, I mean, Trey said that there may not be a Game 6, and it feels like everybody who is a fan of the Bulls, who writes about the Bulls, is in that same sentiment. How long is this playoff run going to last? 4 or 5? Probably not 6, and that's stakes for a 45-win team that was felt like they could join that group of 4. Mm-hmm. It feels like the Raptors are definitely a lot closer to that group of 4 than the Bulls are right now.
Yeah, and it's fascinating here, Trey, to see like do these teams, these teams that we've just listed that tested, like, is the 3rd seed like the most coveted seed because of all of the hijinks going on in the play-in? Like possibility that you would have to face obviously the Nets and Durant, but even Trae Young and the Hawks, let's say in a 1-8, like you don't really maybe want to. Feels like you want to play the Bulls. So, like, does everybody just want the 3rd seed if Chicago stays at the 6th, which it looks like they are?
Well, I mean, come on. The Bulls are easily the most beatable team in the top 6, unless you're the Raptors, who did lose 3 games against the Bulls this year in 4 of their matchups. If only that counted as a top 4 seed victory. Nonetheless, of course you want to play the Bulls, but do you want to give up home court advantage in the 2nd round of the playoffs? I mean, do you want like if the Celtics stay in the number 2 seed and the Nets get out of the play-in tournament as the 7, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And then say the Nets take down the Celtics in the first round, then you've dropped down to 3, and now you got to play Brooklyn in the Barclays Center. You got to think next level, because honestly, any team's going to beat the Bulls in the playoffs at this point, unless there happens to be injuries for their opponent. So I don't know. I think we'll see a little jockeying, some shenanigans, but at this point, it's like Tass is saying, all 4 of those teams that are in the top half of the Eastern Conference bracket think they can make it to the conference finals, if not the finals. They probably don't care exactly who they have to play in the first round.
Yeah. Let's go over to the West, because we have Norman Powell, the general, was back last night, and he put up a game-high 24 in his return, and the Clippers beat the B Suns. Tass, they rested a lot of their big names, but they had a huge lead, nearly gave it all back, but they got the victory. And I mean, really, what'd you think of Norman Powell? And he sounds pretty damn confident about this Clippers team moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I'm watching them. I had flashbacks to the last couple postseasons where, they are a solid bunch. So yeah, they're getting every weapon back. Now it's just Kawhi time. When's Kawhi coming back? They got Paul George back. They got Norman Powell back yesterday. As we talked about yesterday, Kawhi on the practice court, not on the game court quite yet, but who knows? They need a guy like Norman Powell, though, for that 7-8 play-in game that they are bound to play the Minnesota Timberwolves, because he gets to the line. Unlike the rest of their lineup, they've got Paul George, as I mentioned, Reggie Jackson, Marcus Morris, Batum, Zubats, and then on the bench it's Terrence Mann, Luke Kennard, Robert Covington. They need a guy who will drive, and besides Paul George, Norman Powell could be that guy. He was scorching hot yesterday, showed that he could do that. He had 10 free throws, and he scored 24 points in 23 minutes. We've seen what he did for the championship Raptors. He can really help out, hit his first 6 shots in this game. Coming off the bench, he outscored the Suns 13-9. The Suns scored 9 points. It was 60-31 at half. But the Suns, as you said, they're ready to chill. They're resting Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Ayton, and Crowder. And so Norman Powell out for 2 months before last night. A wonderful addition. And it looks like that really difficult team that nobody really wants to play either. I think the Timberwolves, if they ended up in the 7th seed, like it looks like they will, are not extremely happy to see this Clippers team that will have to go on the road to Minnesota, where they play well. If you remember last year in the playoffs, played damn well on the road. So I would be scared of this Clippers team as they round into 4.
Yeah, 40-40 now is their record. Though they did have a 39-point lead in this one, Trey, and it got down to like a 4-point game. It would have been the biggest blown lead in NBA history if the Suns had pulled it off in the end. But 39 is a hell of a lot, and they held on for the victory. But what do you think? Norman Powell saying we're a dangerous team, like we can be here. Do you buy that at all, or is that just like, of course they're going to say that, or are you convinced, like Tass sounds to be over the last couple of shows, like this Clippers team they're feisty. They got well coached. They obviously got Paul George back. Who knows with Kawhi, and now Powell's back and he looked great.
I think the Clippers are definitely a dangerous play-in team, and if they get to the 7th seed, if they are able to knock off the Timberwolves there, like the Grizzlies should be a little bit scared, I would think, just because this is a team that has a ton of postseason experience. Mm-hmm. Some of them have played together, some haven't, but all of the guys have been there, and they've got a lot of ball handlers, which I think is going to be super important. That's obviously, we see a ton of the times in playoffs, it's like, maybe Paul George gets super, super hot. So then you have to adjust your defense. You're going to do anything you can to have anybody but Paul George beat you. Reggie Jackson's been really solid this season. He's got some of the best clutch stats in the league so far this year. Norm Powell's obviously a solid secondary or tertiary scorer. I don't think Kawhi is going to come back, but if he does, that gives the Clippers yet another option. And Luke Kennard is a good shooter as well. So they got a lot of perimeter options there. And they've got a very deep team who understands their roles and how to make things tough on defense. They've had an identity since last year's playoffs. They're going to play small. They're going to play one big guy. Hartenstein's been a nice addition for them this year. Zubac can obviously give you some physicality inside and set good screens. So they're going to be a tough team. I don't think they're going much farther than the second round, but I think it's possible they get to the second round out of the play-in tournament.
Yeah, I actually think it would be a good thing This sounds weird, but I always like when a team, especially like the Grizzlies, who are like sort of new to the game here and have plans to go far, but we don't know because they're so young, if they will. I like to be tested. I like when they're like really tested in a first round series. Like it's a hell of a wake up call. Maybe it goes long, like 6 or 7, but you pull it off. Like that can help your chances moving forward, I think. Sometimes it's like almost better in a weird way, in my opinion, than just waxing a team that you're like clearly better than, because it's like you're not really getting maybe the playoff like reps that you'll want moving forward as the series get more and more difficult. So maybe it works out even in a Grizzlies' favor. The Suns I'm not worried about at all. The fully loaded Suns are gonna, I think, handle either the Wolves or the Clippers or whoever the hell it is that gets the 8 seed pretty handedly. But the Grizzlies could be in for a fight, and that could be a good thing. I would still have them winning, but yeah, Clippers look feisty, and this is the healthiest they've been all season, which is huge. Other games last night, just quick. The Jazz crushed the Thunder 137-101. So that's their 5th straight victory. I know we've got some Quin Snyder content coming up later in the show, so stick around for that. Yes, and we also had the Mavericks pummeling the Pistons for their 50th win. So we had the Celtics getting number 50. We had the Mavericks getting number 50 last night. As Dallas, inches closer task to wrapping up home court advantage. I don't think it's technically a given yet. It's not locked in, but the magic number's got to be like 1 for them to have actually host a series at home in the first round for the first time since like 2011, since their championship run.
Yeah, and I think it's been obviously a phenomenal season for the Mavs to get this home court advantage. And I think something that's flying under the radar with this Mavs team is how good Jason Kidd has got them to play defensively. They played the Pistons last night. The Pistons are giving everyone a run for their money here at the end of the season, and they weren't able to against the Mavs, who are doing a good job of placing Luka in spots where he doesn't have to be involved in the action at all times. And I think kudos to Jason Kidd for doing that and for getting his team to play ridiculously hard. And that being one reason why I had Luka on my first All-NBA team is just their big accomplishment of getting up there to a top 4 seed with, as everyone puts it, Luka and the others, which is disrespectful to everybody else, but they're accomplishing a lot this season. So it's a great year for Jason Kidd, who has been labeled as a quote-unquote bad coach, but he's having a good coaching season.
Oh, yeah. The others, when the others hit threes, the Mavericks look at times to me like very difficult because of their defense, because you have Luka, but then you have, like last night, Reggie Bullock, 3 for 5. Good Gord, Dorian Finney-Smith, 3 for 5. Bertans, 3 for 5. You're always going to love that. Josh Green even hit a couple off the bench. He's going to set them up. If they knock them down to that type of consistency, last night was 45% from 3, so that's probably not going to happen every night during the playoffs. But, man, flirting around 38, 39, 40% in these games, they could win a lot of games with that sort of combo. Superstar talent in Luka, 3-point shooting in a lot of these guys. And, like, those guys, that's not, like, crazy for them to hit those type of numbers. And then defense, hell yeah. I love that their goal here, Trey, feels to be like, we want home court advantage, and we obviously want to win a series under Luka for the first time in franchise history. Like, I feel like that is, like, their goal. It's a fair goal to have. Who knows then moving forward, but I love it.
100%. They need home court advantage. They haven't had it yet in a playoff series that Luka has played in, and you're going to expect better shooting from your role players playing at home. And like you're saying, Skeets, that's the offense for the Mavericks. It's Luka. It's somebody rolling to the rim, unless it's Kleba, in which case he's probably going to be popping. And then it's 3-point shooting from Brunson and Bullock, and hopefully Dinwiddie if he's able to hit, and Bertans, because like Bertans is not going to be able to stay on the court in the playoffs unless he's making threes. And I think that's going to be the case for a whole bunch of players. Dorian Finney-Smith is going to be the absolute key for that team in the playoffs because they need him for his defense, just like they need Reggie Bullock. But you don't leave Reggie Bullock as a 3-point shooter because he has a rep as a shooter. Finney-Smith has shot the ball incredibly well this year, but that's going to be the player that opponents gamble off of and say, hey, we're going to make it tough for Luka. Can you beat us, Dorian Finney-Smith? If he can, the Mavs are going to advance. And if he's bricky, then they're going to really struggle come playoff time. As for the Jazz, back-to-back 20-point games for Rudy Gobert. He was 9 of 9 last night against the Thunder, which is nice. And he actually had a nice game against the Grizzlies, which we didn't really talk about too much on last night's show. 22 points, 21 rebounds. And they were going to him in the fourth quarter of that game. You can tell that the Jazz have made a little bit of a concerted effort here to get Gobert involved offensively going into the playoffs. I don't think you're going to be counting on him as a 20-point per game scorer come playoff time, but it's got to be good for the chemistry to hook the big guy up occasionally.
Yeah. Was this helped out by no Donovan Mitchell playing last night? Gobert getting more touches.
Conley is a good passer. Conley will get the ball to Rudy
He didn't
Gobert.
play last night though either, did he?
No, but he played against the Grizzlies,
Grizzlies,
and he was getting to be the guy who initiated the offense a whole bunch. And there are times where you'll see Mitchell look inside. He sees the mismatch with Rudy Gobert, and he just won't throw it in. Maybe he's not quite as comfortable with the pass, but Conley's been throwing entry passes to big guys for his entire career, so he'll just throw it up. And I think that's super beneficial to the Jazz. It just gives Rudy Gobert something to do. And that's all he wants out there, man. He just wants to be involved on that end of the court. He'll hold it down on the other end. So, the Jazz hit a rough patch about 2 weeks ago, and they've recovered all right here.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert just wants to be loved, for sure.
That's right. That's exactly right. His love language is alley-oops and awards. I think Tim McMahon said that. Everybody has a different love language out there. Some people, it's words of affirmation. For me, it's gifts, just like Rudy Gobert.
That's exactly right. I love this from Four Morning Poops before we take our first break. Can you beat us, Dorian Finney-Smith? Sounds like the opening line to an unpublished Dickens novel. That's a good comment. And on that note, we'll take our first break. I'll try and fix my Wi-Fi, although it is holding on so far, 35 minutes in. And
I'll turn down my volume.
Okay, yeah, Chaz is pretty loud. Oh, boy. Yeah, I mean, JD goes away, everything starts falling apart. Andrew, hold us together, man. We'll be right back, though, guys.
Sling is the best of live TV for the best price. It's everything you love about live and on-demand TV without the long-term contracts and hidden fees. With Sling, you get channels like ESPN, TBS, TNT, CNN, HGTV, and more. Plus, 80,000 on-demand movies and shows, 50 hours of DVR storage included, the ability to pause or change your subscription at any time, and so much more. Watch your favorite comedies, action, drama, and adventures, suspense and thrillers, documentaries, oh I love those, news and sports for just $35 a month. That's it. Wow, that sounds good. Sign up in 5 minutes and start streaming right away on your TV, your phone, and your tablet. It's the easiest and cheapest way to watch the TV you love, both live and on demand. Take control of your entertainment with Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Try it free today. Go to sling.com. Restrictions apply.
Let me ask you guys a question. Is the piece of plastic in your wallet doing enough for you? I doubt it. Because with the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card, you can start building credit with everyday purchases and on-time payments. You see, with Credit Builder, members can increase their credit history with no annual fees or interest. And having a good credit score can mean getting better car loan rates or renting apartments easier. It comes into play in life. So continue your credit journey with Chime. Sign up takes only 2 minutes, and it doesn't affect your credit score. Get started at chime.com/nodunks. That's chime.com/nodunks. And now it's time for the fine print.
Oh, yeah.
The Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card is issued by Stride Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA. Chime checking account and $200 qualifying direct deposit required to apply for the secured Chime Credit Builder Visa credit card. Regular on-time payment history can have a positive impact on your credit score. Impact to score may vary, and some users' scores may not improve.
When the moment for intimacy arrives, you need to be ready. Roman ready. Whether you've been in a relationship for years or you're just getting started, having the confidence that comes from preparation means you're free to enjoy the moment when the moment comes. Roman ready is confidence personified. It's the self-assurance that comes from knowing you've prepared yourself for the moment when intimacy arrives. Here's an analogy that makes complete sense. Taking Roman is the same as watching basketball, which makes intimacy the same as making a classic podcast. The whole process is straightforward, convenient, and discreet. With Roman, you can get a free online evaluation and ongoing care for erectile dysfunction, all from the comfort and privacy of your home. A U.S. licensed healthcare professional will work with you to find the best treatment plan, and if medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. So go to GetRoman.com/NoDunks today
And if you're prescribed, you'll get $15 off your first month of ED treatment. Make sure you're ready to have confidence and control this spring. Roman ready.
All right, back with no dunks here. Wi-Fi still garbage. I should have just stayed at the cottage if it was going to be this bad.
I'm surprised you went to Lee's house.
Yeah, I know. I had a decision to make here during the break. Can I reset my router in the time? 5-6-minute ad break, and I was like, "There's no way it'll be back." I just like it takes way longer than it should. Test, I'm convinced. So it's like I just got to stick with this. Unfortunately, I'll do it after the show. I guess I'm fuzzy. They're calling me Steph Blurry, and
that's a good one. And with the way No Dunks reads ads, though, yeah, you said 5. I think you could have done it.
It takes longer than 5 minutes for that thing to power up. You know it does.
Oh, I do.
I know. Anyway, got some questions for you guys here. Questions for the stream team as well. Play along. Let's hear your answers. I'll just jump right to the first one. I believe this was inspired from our guy Ben Golliver of the Washington Post. He had this sort of as one of his main topics in his newsletter recently. But which star, guys, entering the playoffs here, because we're into the playoffs very soon, which star entering the playoffs is under the most pressure, do you think? And for what reason? Trey, where does your mind go to?
We asked a similar question in our preseason preview podcast. Which player is under the most pressure this season? And for me, it was Joel Embiid in the preseason. I'm sticking with it for the playoffs, and I will throw James Harden in the mix as well. We've seen an MVP-like season for Embiid no matter what happens with the voting. He did everything that people asked, myself included. He played a ton of games. He carried his team without Ben Simmons around. He grew his game. He could lead the league in scoring. He's still giving it defensively as well. But the next step is doing it in the postseason for the entirety of his tenure in the postseason, because we've seen some monster performances from Embiid throughout the years. And we've also seen him slow down at times, kind of run out of steam as series progress. He's had some turnover problems when things get a little hairy. So there are improvements to be made. And we've definitely seen the Sixers struggle in the past whenever Joel Embiid goes to the bench, which is why Harden is under a ton of pressure going into the playoffs as well. Everybody knows his rep at this point. We've seen a lot of 2 for 11 games. Zach Lowe has a great rundown of it from a couple of years back, and it hasn't gotten any better in the meantime. We've seen the good in Philly. When he first got there, he was running around. He was going to the corner. He was playing in transition. And then we've also seen the bad in Philly, where it just seems like he's not completely engaged in the game, and he's just looking like he's limping around out there. None of it really matters until we see Harden have, 25-point, 12-assist games in these high leverage games, because he's had some disappearing acts in the past. The NBA Finals, to me, has to be the goal for the 76ers, and anything else has to be a disappointment. So shout out to Louisa. That's pressure like a drip, drip, drip that'll never stop until they look like world beaters, until they look like a legitimate championship contender. Because we talk about these top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference, and maybe the Celtics are the team you want to play because they just lost Robert Williams. But the Sixers are pretty high up on that list too, because people do not trust those two come playoff time to show up every single night. So that's a lot of pressure for both of those guys.
Yeah, when it comes to Joel Embiid, because I think the obvious answer that people will say is Harden, just because, he shit the bed so many times before, and now he's like sort of forced his way to Brooklyn, and he's with an MVP-like guy in Embiid. Like, you got to do some things here. But Embiid is interesting. Like, I'm glad you brought him up, Trey, because he's yet to make it out of the second round. And this is like for 2 years running, either the MVP runner-up or maybe even the winner this year. Who knows how they vote? He only has 3 playoff series victories, and they're against pretty bad teams, if we're being honest. 44-win Heat in 2018, the 42-win Nets in 2019, and the 34-win Wizards in 2021. That's it. So for him to be really on the level of your Giannis's and your Jokic's and your Tatum's and your Booker's and your Trae Young, even at this point, those guys have better postseason resumes than Embiid, and they're all younger than him. So he needs to, and he's done it all season long, he needs to continue in the playoffs to put that team on his back and get a couple more playoff victories in him, series victories in him, I think. So I like that one. Tass, is there any other one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would agree. Embiid with a bullet, number 1, definitely not Harden on that team. It's going to be Embiid in the fourth quarters that is relied upon a lot. So in that light, I kind of think Donovan Mitchell has a lot of pressure on him because he takes it upon himself in fourth quarters to do everything. And so that's going to be a difficult task for him. Luka Doncic has to get out of the first round, as we talked about. And this one's an odd one, but Ja Morant, who is in the playoffs for the first time. So is there any pressure on him? I guess not. From our perspective, no, he can just show up in the postseason. If he loses, that's okay, again, because it's his first time. But I think when it comes to basketball, there will be a lot of pressure on him because the Grizzlies have the fourth best offense this season, but a lot of that is generated because they generate turnovers themselves and transition opportunities. They have the best transition offense. So they go from the fourth best offense. If you take away those transition opportunities, they drop to the 22nd ranked offense in just half court opportunities. So I think Ja Morant's going to have a lot of pressure on himself to create in the half court. Dane Moore with that great stat. So it's going to be a lot of, hey, the other team's playing well in terms of getting back and stopping easy buckets and second chance opportunities, which the Grizzlies also like to subsist on. So that's a pressure on Ja in that instance. And then I guess people are throwing up to Chris Paul. Hey, there's pressure on him because he hasn't won a championship yet, and he's going to be the favorite in every series. His team's going to be the favorite in every series. His team's going to have home court in every series. And so I guess there is a little pressure because this is the first time in his career that's going to happen. They are by far and away the best team. So I guess there's some pressure there. But
there's some, but I feel like there's less after they went to the finals last year. But man, no, he wants to get that ring, and that'd be huge for his overall legacy, I guess. Just a quick correction on the Grizzlies too. They did make the playoffs last year. They played the Jazz.
Jal had a 47 point
Oh, that's
game
my
last
bad.
year.
Yeah.
That's my bad. They got out of the play-in tournament.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Little taste there, losing in 5 to Utah in last year's playoffs. But I love the Donovan Mitchell call. I think that's a great one that I hadn't thought of. What about Kyrie? Kyrie under pressure to play and deliver to help out Kevin Durant, or is he not? Because he's obviously has a title and he's just he's a different cat. And what do you think, Trey?
Well, I mean, I think he's under pressure because the Nets need to have great performances from Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving every single night if they're going to actually challenge for a championship this season. So I think there's pressure from that standpoint because we just saw him have a 35-point game, but it took him 32 shots. That's not going to cut it in the playoffs. So I think there's pressure from that standpoint. And there's also a chance that he could be playing in Boston against the Celtics. So I think there'll be pressure from there. From a legacy, I mean, he's got a title. He hit a game-winning shot in a Game 7 over a 73-win team. So he's kind of made a little bit in my book, but obviously he wants to get a second one, being the guy who recruited Kevin Durant to come along with him to the Nets. But I think Mitchell is under a ton of pressure. Mitchell and Gobert are right now Chris Paul and Blake Griffin at the end of their tenure with the Clippers, where you're trying to say, hey, can we keep this thing together? Let's give it one more run. It didn't work out the last time or the time before that or the time before that, but maybe this is the one. And when you're playing like that, when you're playing knowing that if you lose 4 times, this could be the end of things for this era that's really been your entire career, that's tough.
Yeah. All right, our next question here. Tass, you can get us started. Which potential, so it's got to be a realistic one, of course, which potential first-round series do you most want to see? You're just fingers crossed, give me that one, give me the popcorn, and what's your reason why that you would pick this one?
I think this one's obvious. The Sixers versus the Brooklyn Nets. I know we were all a little disappointed on March 10th when the Sixers went to Philly and blew the doors off, but a playoff series where Harden goes against the team he requested a trade from, demanded out, and on the other side, Durant and Kyrie against the guy who left them. I think that's sort of an underrated part of this. They want to kick Harden's ass just as much as Harden would want to beat them. Joel Embiid versus Andre Drummond, a guy who he's owned in the past, he's clowned in the past. That would be fun. Seth Curry against his father-in-law. Some good little bites for next Thanksgiving dinner. Doc Rivers. So I think that one's the obvious one. Am I just still hoping for a good series like what we all hope for on March 10th? I just legitimately think though that series has the most storylines, the most little nuggets of everything. Now there's probably some better basketball-y ones, but that one's the obvious one for me. I think that would be a good battle. Also, let's have a local rivalry as well. They're pretty close. I think there'll be some crazy fans there as well. Fans traveling. It should be fun.
Okay, so you want Sixers Nets, which would at this point have to be a 2-7. I guess 1-8 could technically still happen, but the Sixers are 2.5 back from the Heat. So okay, they're right there though, only a half game back from the Celtics for the second seed right now. So 2-7, Sixers Nets. Tass wants it. He wants revenge for us not being able to fly to that game, or deciding not to fly to that game, and that was the right decision in the end. But what about you, Trey?
Well, to me, it doesn't really matter who the Nets play in the first round because that's going to be a conference finals-ish kind of matchup because they got to go against one of those top 4 in the Eastern Conference. So that is a lock-it-in, guaranteed going to be awesome, regardless of how everything plays out. I've got my popcorn ready for the Mavericks versus the Jazz just because that feels like it could be the breaking point for the Jazz, and we've seen them struggle against small ball teams like the Mavs would be able to play. And Luka, it'll be cool to see him win a playoff series at some point. But I also love the idea of the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies facing off. If the Grizzlies hang on to they're number 2, but if the Timberwolves are able to hang on to the 7th spot, those are two teams that have been a ton of fun to watch this season. I feel like through the first 2/3 of the season, probably the Grizzlies were everybody's second favorite team. Obviously, with Ja Morant going out, they've been able to string together these wins despite having their MVP on the court. So that's been really impressive. And then in the last third of the season, it was fun to be a Timberwolves fan as well. They kind of climbed up into the league pass rankings, if you will. So it would at least be a fun sort of matchup between a bunch of we haven't seen the Timberwolves really in the playoffs. Anthony Edwards, that would be his first taste. Towns with a much bigger, much more established at this point. So I think that would be a fun one to watch as well.
Seeing some votes here in the stream team for, anybody that the Wolves play because they just want in the playoffs. Okay, there's that. Also got some Hawks Sixers love out there. A little rematch. Run that back. Potential 2-7, I guess, as well. Just like a Sixers Nets would be. So yeah, I hadn't really thought about that. Trae Young going against Philly again could be something there. And there was some love even for a Suns Clippers like we saw last night. Yeah, if you believe that the Clippers are going to be a tough out, then that could be a fun series. I still think Phoenix would take care of business there, but maybe you think differently than I do. So I just can't wait for these to start. It's time. Let's go. I love that the play-in starts on Tuesday? Holy crap. Today's Thursday? We got one more drop podcast till the playoffs? Woo! Well, I guess technically 2. We got tomorrow's, and then the playoffs won't have technically started until the Saturday, but that's fine. It'll be perfect. We'll do all our previews for those series on that Friday drop podcast. Okay, one more question here. And this one, inspired by our guy, John Hollinger at The Athletic, who yesterday did a big, long article on who he's taking in a lot of the awards. Now, he doesn't have an official vote, but who he was sort of thinking about going with. And the question I'm asking is, besides the MVP, because we've talked about that ad nauseum, is which NBA award has your full attention? Which one are you just most intrigued by? It's piqued your interest. You're following closely. I will say the one thing that Hollinger had in his article that caught a lot of people by surprise is he didn't have Tyler Hero for Sixth Man of the Year. Went with Kevin Love instead. And it was why are we so infatuated with just points off the bench? And that's the way it's been with Sixth Man, which Hero has. I think he averages over 20 points per game off the bench. It's crazy. But he says, no, Kevin Love's been better. Not sure I agree with that. But I am watching. I know you'll hate this, Trey. The Defensive Player of the Year. The Defensive Award. Because I'm not sure who's going to win this. This one feels like, is Jaren Jackson Jr. going to win it? That's Hollinger's case. Made a fine case for him. I know Lee's been going to bat for him because, as soon as Draymond Green missed half the season, it was I guess this could be anyone's. Rudy could win it again. Maybe Bam. What about a guard? Smart, Bridges. Some love out there for Holiday, but Hollinger goes Jackson Jr. again, like Lee. And with the Grizzlies going 20-3 in games that Ja Morant missed and him being a big part of that 4th-ranked defense, that's big. He leads the league in stocks by a wide margin. Your steals and your blocks. Got a high block rate, and he just protects the rim. He laid out a great case for Jaren Jackson Jr. as a DPOY. But I think I still feel like Marcus Smart is going to get a lot of votes from the people out there that actually have one because of the Celtics defense. And with Robert Williams now out, I've said this before, they might look at it like it's sort of a team award, but you're the guy. You're the captain of that defense, so here you go. So that's my answer. I can't believe I'm somewhat interested in a defensive player of the year race. But I'm just interested in the fact that I don't know who's going to win this one, where a lot of the other ones that feel sort of locked up. What do you have, Trey?
Yeah, the defensive player of the year is kind of funny because it would have been Draymond Green if he had stayed healthy. Kawhi Leonard is obviously a guy who would be in the mix for it, but he hasn't played this season. And Rudy Gobert has missed a nice chunk of time, so it feels like at least there's an opportunity for somebody else to get in on here. But you got to be a true sicko to get fired up about defensive player of the year because you start hearing about deflections and stocks. I don't think you hear about those at all until it's April and people are starting to make their case. So, yeah, that one definitely feels like it's up for grabs. MIP probably up for grabs, though Ja Morant is a major favorite. Rookie of the year, could we have a tie? I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world. Like, a tie for an award sounds ridiculous. But Evan Mobley and Scotty Barnes have like identical cases for Rookie of the Year, and they've both been performing for the entirety of the year for teams that both are going into the postseason, and they're both like linchpins of their defense. Obviously, Jarrett Allen is the number one defensive guy for the Cavs, but Evan Mobley and his ability to be an all-defense-like player as a rookie has made the Cavs into their defense just as much as Jarrett Allen has, maybe a little step behind, whereas Scotty Barnes is exactly part of what the Raptors do defensively, right? Yeah. He's like a 6'9" switchable guy who can guard anybody out there. They're both probably better offensively than anybody thought they were going to be this year. So I don't know. Like, you can't vote for a split, but it could easily be a split, and I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world. Let's go Grant Hill and Jason Kidd all over again.
Hey, I love this idea because by all accounts, all of these people with votes, they're already on the phone with each other saying, hey, are we putting Jokic as a forward so we can get him on the first team with Embiid? Are we doing that? Well, while you're on that same call, just say, all right, you're going to vote for Mobley and I'll vote for Barnes. And then we'll evenly split it. And we'll have a tie like it's Grant Hill and Jason Kidd back in the day for ROI. That one's tight. It's down to those two guys for sure. And most improved. Is it Ja Morant still? Like, I know that he was the odds-on favorite from Vegas, but he's missed so many games, and there are of course other great candidates. And also, I find it still so weird. This idea, like, okay, hell of a jump to go from. Well, he really went from like some say good to great. He was probably already great and went to like superstar level when he was playing. I thought we had awards for those type of players. I thought they were all NBA selections, but now apparently they're MIPs too. I don't know. So, Tass, which one are you intrigued by as we sort of like the case for a lot of those?
I saw a headline yesterday that said Giannis Antetokounmpo should be most improved player, and this was and that was a respectable outlet. It wasn't just some blog.
Wasn't Ballsack Sports or something?
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't respectable. I don't know. I don't know who gets most improved. The games played question is a good one. I think the one that makes me think over and over and over again as to who would get my vote is the Rookie of the Year award. I don't know who will take it. The fact that Evan Mobley's been hurt has definitely helped Scotty Barnes. Scotty's getting stronger as the year goes on, while it feels like Evan Mobley hasn't played his strongest here at the end. It felt like he peaked earlier, and that's why everyone was locked in looking at this guy who could be an all defensive player in his rookie year for the having a guy on the all defensive team as a rook for the first time since Tim Duncan would be a phenomenal accomplishment. I'm not sure he gets there now because of the way the last few weeks have gone. But yeah, Scotty Barnes, when you're splitting hairs with how close these guys' lines are, I think the fact that he's going to play more games, 5 to 7 more games, helps. He's getting stronger as the year goes on. He's getting involved at the end of games in the offense a little bit more than Evan Mobley was towards the end. So that one is a real tough one. I think a split would not be a bad idea. I don't think John Hollinger's idea of Kevin Love being the sixth man is a good idea
No.
at all. I think I've watched every Kevin Love minute out there. I don't get the argument. I haven't read John's article yet. It's flagged. It's a saved stories later on my Athletic app, but I hit the 13-7 and being a consistent guy off the bench for the Cavs is definitely important for them. But Tyler Hero's 20-plus points is ridiculously important for the Miami Heat, who've missed everybody with a ton of games, ton of absences from their starting lineup. But he's just as important even when they're playing as a creator. And so I don't get Kevin Love's great shooting, his fantastic outlet passing. I don't buy it. I think Tyler Hero has run away with that award, and Kevin Love's important because they need scoring, and especially with all those guys out, they lack that. But yeah, the Heat need Hero and his playmaking equally as much or more.
Hollinger's vote for Love is just a pushback against the yay points guy off the bench that Seth Partnow has famously come up with, which it generally goes to. It's right, Trey. It's Clarkson. It's Crawford's. It's these type of guys.
But what is he doing otherwise? Yeah, he's sucking up boards. He's sucked up 7 boards a game. But
Love.
Yeah. I mean, what's the argument there? I don't think that. Yeah, that props him over. Those 7 boards props him over Hero at all.
Yeah, no, I would be voting for Hero if I had a vote in this one. I wouldn't overthink it. Hollinger maybe just he's thinking clicks, man. This guy's smart. We gotta get something in here.
He's not a
click.
Oh yeah,
he's not a clickman.
You want to come on? He's smart. He's smart. He knows you got to get some buzz going for this article. He looks at the rest of it, he's like, oh, this is pretty by the book here. What can I do here? Maybe make a case for Kevin Love. That'll get the people talking. And it is, because we're talking about it.
That'll get the yard barking.
Yeah.
When JD opens up the Classic Factory again, when he opens up the gates, we better have John Hollinger come in.
Sure.
Get him in there. He's a local. He's a local boy. Get him in there so we can talk about this ridiculous argument.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
The whole time we're just gonna be asking about Kevin Love. That's it.
All right. Well, let's hear from you guys in the stream team. All 3 of those questions. First off, which star is under the most pressure heading into the postseason? Which first round series are you most excited about? You want to see happen? And then this last one, besides MVP, which is still coming down to the wire, which award has you most intrigued? Hey, maybe you're real sick. Maybe it's the coaches, Trey, that have you all.
It's not. It's not. No, definitely not.
Okay.
We're furious when I wanted to include Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year.
I love it. Who
do you think's going to win it though? To ask it all, like, who do you think the voters ultimately go with? Not who you think could.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a full Monty.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Right.
Probably.
The first unanimous Coach of the Year?
It better be. If he gets Thibodeau'd again here, that's bad.
Yeah.
You can let it happen once, but not the second time.
Yeah.
Not when they improved.
I mean, yeah. He's winning it. Like, who else is going to get some decent looks? Spoelstra? If the
Spoelstra, Taylor Jenkins
for sure. Yeah,
I think he's second probably. He's big time. Especially with John Morant going out at the end of the season and the way they played with him gone.
Yeah. All right, we'll see. I know our guy Dan Devine just posted his picks for all the awards, and he has an official ballot. So I haven't had a chance to read it. It just went live right before we jumped on here. But my point is, like, you're going to start seeing all these people with actual votes. Their columns are coming out here, Cass, for the next couple days, and we're going to have a better idea maybe where these votes are going to be going. Do we know when they're announcing all this stuff? What are we doing with this? Are we waiting until after the postseason and all that crap again, or do we find out right away?
I don't know. Ask all these ballot guys, all these writers,
the ballot boys,
all these podcasts that you're listening to. Why don't they reveal when they're? I guess they don't know when it's being revealed.
I got to catch myself a Mike Bass and find out when we're finding out these actual winners. That's a joke for the sickos out there. If you got that one, you're in too deep. Okay, you think it is crazy knowing a referee's name? If you know the VP of Director of Communications for the NBA, then woo.
Who you guys got taking home Ref of the Year, the big ROI?
ROI this year. It's tough. I like what's the guy's name that they call Ref Bay?
Foul Bay. I don't know
Foul
what that
Bay,
guy's name. He's Foul Bay as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. What's his
He's had
name?
a great year.
Yeah.
Don't know. Foul Bay is his
Yeah,
name.
interesting. Okay. We're gonna take one more break. When we come
Ballots
back-
are due Monday night. John Schumann has written when they announce is to be determined.
Oh, yeah, that's what I want to know.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, Johnny. Good. Almost went a podcast without mentioning John Schumann's name. We'll be right back for a little tweet of the night.
It's no secret we all want to look our best this spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Skeets, you're in. Tass is in. Andrew, I assume you're in. Well, good news for you. Mack Weldon is the expert when it comes to stylish essentials, perfect for the new season. Whether you want to upgrade your sweats collection or if you need gear that stands up to the changing weather, Mack Weldon has exactly what you're looking for. I'm personally eyeballing Mack Weldon's Ace sweatshirts, sweatpants, and sweatshorts. Can't decide if I want to be a green sweatsuit guy or a blue sweatsuit guy. Then I've got to decide if I'm going infantry green, commando green, coolant blue, total eclipse blue, indigo dye, or night owl blue. What I'm saying is you've got options at Mack Weldon. So check out Mack Weldon for yourself and save 20% on your first order. Visit mackweldon.com/nodunks and enter promo code NODUNKS. Again, that's mackweldon.com/nodunks. Promo code NODUNKS for 20% off. Find your perfect look this spring with Mack Weldon.
Well, I am here to talk to you about Saxx underwear, and I'll start with their 2-in-1 shorts because I wore them when I played basketball a couple weeks ago. They were the only garment I had to put on, my bottom half anyways, because their shorts have a compression liner built in, so no need for additional underwear. I do the laundry in my house, so I love that. And they felt really good while playing because within that liner, they have Saxx's patented ballpark pouch. What's a ballpark pouch? It's like a dedicated hammock for your balls that provides a little space for your undercarriage. And there's a lot less friction down there because of it. Less chub rub. And less stink, I guess, as well. You know that feeling of relief when you take off your underwear at night? Oh yeah, you get that all day with Saxx. Just some relief. And the ballpark pouch is built into all of Saxx's boxers or boxer briefs. And get this guy, even their briefs. Because as the great philosophers The Offspring once said, you gotta keep them separated. Hey, keep those balls away. And Saxx keeps it ultra cool with their breathable fabrics. And remember, everything is backed by Saxx's comfort guarantee. That's 100% satisfaction or your money back. Take advantage of our special offer today. Head on over to saxx.com/nodunks and get 10% off, plus free shipping, using promo code NODUNKS. That's saxx.com/nodunks and promo code NODUNKS for 10% off and free shipping.
All right, back here with the boys. Little no dunks on a Thursday. Big sports day today, right? Baseball's
Huge.
back. Yeah,
Baseball's
and
back.
the Masters starts today, just down the road from Lee's house in Augusta.
It must have already tipped, right? Golf tips off.
Yeah, what do they call that?
Tee time,
Yeah.
Teed off.
I
Yeah.
assume so. Probably. Tiger's playing, right? He's in,
Yeah, he had 175 yards on his
Oh,
second shot on hole
geez.
one.
Dog
Hit
leg.
the front of the green and it spun off, but he could save it.
Nice.
He could
All
save
right.
it.
So, and what? The Blue Jays are winning the World Series apparently
Yeah.
this year, or it might be Braves Jays in the World Series. Is that what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, touchdowns galore in baseball this season.
What does that mean?
Oh, a lot of field goals, a lot
What the hell are you
of.
talking about?
I just like saying different sporting
Oh,
terms
okay.
for different sports.
You were, I think it was you sharing an article. Maybe it was you, Tess. I saw it. What they're allowed, the catchers are allowed to like use this device. What is this? Pitchcom or what the hell is it called? Romcom? What is it?
Yeah, it's crazy. So the catchers are allowed to have this device on their armband,
Okay.
which tells the pitcher where it's calling for pitches. Hey, up, fastball in, curveball down. They press it on the actual pad,
Yeah.
and it gets transferred to not only the pitcher but 3 other infielders, so they know where to position themselves, and it's in the cap of the pitcher and those fielders, and it's an audio fastball in.
No way.
It's audio.
Yeah, it's audio. So it's supposed to reduce sign stealing. Number one, and also speed up the game, because quite often catchers will go out to the pitcher.
Right.
And they'll be like, okay, these are the signs that we need to deal with. And we don't have pitchers looking in their caps at times for the sign.
Well, they better hope the Wi-Fi works well, or they won't be able to
No, but hey, a lot of people angry or seeing these comments here. Sam Unono saying this is stupid. Listen, it speeds up the game. It was done in spring training. It was done in A-ball. Apparently it speeds up the game, and it's up to the catcher and the pitcher and the fielders if they want to do it. They don't have to do it.
Okay.
But it makes a fastball inside.
So won't base runners just be trying to stand by the guys now?
Over here?
Yeah. They got to run away, and if they want to play up the middle because the shift is still around, I guess they run back to their position. I know it sounds crazy. But apparently it's good. It's good for the game. Good pace.
Oh, well, we'll see. Okay, let's get to tweet of the night.
Tweet of the night. Wow.
Twitter.
Chunky tweet of the night segment coming at ya. A lot of hot stuff going down on the Twitter last night. But first, I want to show you something from the stream team from Johnny Shumani here. He mentions Foul Bay is David Guthrie, I believe. And that is exactly right. So let's hear your cases for David Guthrie winning Ref of the Year.
Oh, my favorite Atlanta Brave, Avery Guthrie. You're wearing a Braves hat. You remember Avery Guthrie? Big lefty? Wasn't that big?
No.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. Oh, on to the tweet of the night. It's a big one. Skeets, alluded to it earlier. We're talking about Quin Snyder. The tweet comes from Dana_Green. And the tweet is about Quin Snyder. He does not like the narrative that Donovan Mitchell is intentionally not passing the ball to Rudy Gobert. He makes a lot of good points in this video, including that Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell occasionally sit next to each other for meals. So in your face if you think they have problems with each other. But what we're talking about here is Quin Snyder's beautiful vest that he was wearing for this. Looks like it might be insulated somehow. Maybe I don't know, Nike makes those insulated running vests or something like that. But first thing I thought of when I saw Quin rocking the vest was that he looks like the lunatic fringe Dean Ambrose back in the Shield days. Especially once you get Quin going crazy on the sidelines, getting very upset. He's got, a kind of a wet look hair as well as Dean did early in his WWE career. But then I couldn't stop thinking about this scene from Black Widow, which I just recently watched, when Yelena is explaining to Natasha that she finally got to buy something of her own and that it was a vest with a lot of pockets and you can put a whole bunch of stuff in there. So that's what I was thinking about. When you see a guy show up to a press conference wearing a very cool vest, you just think about all the cool vests you've ever seen.
Great.
I don't know what else. So you guys like to wear vests? Tess, I know you've been wearing a vest. I've seen you wearing a vest around the Classic Factory here.
Oh yeah, I've adopted the Southern style. The Southern preppy gentleman.
Throwing on a vest down here.
They love a vest down here.
Yeah, we know some people who wear vests.
Oh my God, they love it.
It's just so easy. It's convenient. Keeps the heart warm. Without.
I don't get it. I don't understand how it keeps you warm. But obviously, it somewhat keeps you cool enough too. Because I never understood the jacket vest, I guess what we're talking about here, not a suit vest.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
If you will.
When I just don't get my heart isn't cold. Well, people would argue with that, but my chest is not cold, but my arms are too hot.
That's why you got to keep warm. Triple H and F: head, heart, hands, and feet. You got to keep the heart warm. But yeah, it's there's
a lot of heat through your head. You're right about that.
Yeah.
H and F.
I guess
I need a better acronym.
A vest I mean, really, a vest is just, it's shorts for your upper body.
Exactly.
I've never thought of it that way, but
Yeah, keeping it cool, but it's still keeping it warm at the same time. But the camouflage with Quin Snyder, I mean, that's hot down here as well, obviously.
that's camouflage?
Isn't it a camouflage pattern?
No, I think it's puffy.
Oh, it's
Like,
puffy.
Yeah, it looks like a puffy,
Yeah.
little puff.
Oh, you're right. You're
it looks
right.
like a tactical though type of vest. Like he's robbed somebody or like
Yeah.
Yeah. The
What-
question is like, what was he doing before this that he had the vest on?
Well, he robbed a. Yeah, he's got some diamonds or something. I think.
Yeah. What's he storing in all of these pockets? But it's true. Vests are back right now. Oh, sorry about that. Vests are actually back. Sweater vests are surprisingly hot right now. People love the Doug Funny look. Could be a good pick and payoff. Vest only, Cisco style.
Wow.
Here's your second tweet of the night, which I just thought was a hilarious tweet. Comes to us from Legion Hoops, telling us about a story on HBO's The Shop. Atlanta rapper Gunna asked LeBron on HBO's The Shop if his son, who is in high school, Bronny, could beat actual LeBron James on the basketball court. LeBron replied, "Nah, he can't beat me." LeBron is second in the league in scoring right now, and his son is not even a senior in high school. But thank you for asking, Gunna, just so we can get confirmation. LeBron James, still better than a teenager. Good tweet.
Yeah.
That's it.
I don't think the open-eyed emoji was necessary there. I don't think it's that.
Can you
spicy
believe it?
or wild? Andrew, any thoughts on either that tweet or the Quin Snyder look, the vest?
I think the vest is more of the Speedo of the upper body because the shorts is just a short sleeve shirt.
Oh, jeez. Damn.
The Speedo.
That's
yeah, when
great-
you're showing shoulders, it's like showing thighs.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. You're right.
All right.
Yeah, that's better. I never really thought of a t-shirt as shorts either.
Although you don't wear a Speedo over shorts. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the thing.
yeah,
2
right.
layers helps.
Right.
The shorts case.
That's all I've got.
It's great. I mean, I just noticed it like the last time we put it up. He's looked like he just robbed a bank, and he's sitting in front of a sign that says Zion's Bank. So it looks like he like just got done taking it for all the money.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Way to go, Quinn. And how do you feel, Tass, about the actual comments? Like, if you see two people sitting down having chicken fingers together, does that mean they're cool? You know, because that's what Quin Snyder's saying. They have lunch together.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
That was not convincing.
Not at all.
No.
And he said, yeah, they have lunch together sometimes. Do they ride in together to practice? No, I don't think so.
No.
That would be even weirder.
Do they both wear vests? Maybe.
The Jazz should definitely do that. You know, like we've seen LeBron get his team a whole bunch of short suits.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert should buy everybody on the Jazz vests that they have to wear to their first game.
It's a great idea.
Arms out too. Tough look.
Great tweets of the night there, Trey. Plural. Send in your questions, guys, to nodunks@theathletic.com. Follow us on all the social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Get yourself an athletic subscription. Just $1 a month for up to 6 months. You can get this very podcast ad-free if you want with an athletic subscription. I heard you, Andrew, on the Daily Ding this morning. So you can listen to that one ad-free as well if you get that athletic subscription. Who were you with this morning? Remind me?
Keith Parrish.
Keith Parrish. I couldn't think of his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys were talking about last night's games. Go check that out. Support Andrew, doing a great job here. Man, you had a lot of podcasts today, Andrew. You had the Ding. You had this one. You got No Buffs coming up later with Trey and I as we talk about Survivor. Right. I'm probably forgetting another one. You might have another one for all I know.
You're doing No Bunts, I think. We're doing a baseball podcast.
No Bunts. Our golf podcast called No Bunkers.
No bunks.
No bunks. Yeah.
No buffs, no bunks, no dunks, no butts. It's like so confusing. No breaks.
Sorry, Andrew, I interrupted you. What were you going to say? You've got another podcast lined up?
I've always got another podcast about the reverse standings. So if anybody's into the other side of the NBA where we just talk about losing.
Oh,
Down to Dunk is always a place for where losing is winning.
okay.
Oh, nice. Get me on there, please. The Bulls have been terrible since the All-Star break. Yeah, you had me on the first half of the season for the Slam and Jam. You're like, we'll get you back sometime when the Bulls are playing well again. And it hasn't happened since, unfortunately.
Yikes. All right. Well, check out all of Andrew's podcasts that he's either hosting or producing, or at most of the times both. Check that out. Support him. No Buffs later today for you Survivor sickos. That has its own YouTube feed, its own podcast feed. Just Trey and I today. So look, I'm going to say this now. We know it won't be true. Maybe it'll be a shorter version of No Buffs with just Trey and I talking about it. But you guys have sent in some great questions by way of Twitter for our Tree Mail segment when we answer a bunch of those. So check out last night's Survivor and then join us around 3 p.m. Eastern over on No Buffs, the YouTube channel, if you want to join us live. And otherwise, that podcast will go up a little bit later. Can't wait for that.
Yeah, I got a question.
Yeah.
What was with that tribal?
Okay.
I'm sure you're talking about it in your A block
There you go.
rather than your B block. Can't wait.
That's right. I'll have to make sure Tess wrote in or wants to know about the tribal. That's later today. But tomorrow, Drop Podcast. Join us here at 10 a.m. Eastern live. We're going to have, I was going to say the whole band back together. JD, obviously, he's still in Mexico, but Lee will, in theory, be joining us from Aruba. So we'll talk about tonight's game, some big ones on, and maybe, should I do the 10 all-NBA teams tomorrow? Should I fire that out tonight? That's a possibility. Yeah, that's a strong possibility. We'll see if I have the time to do that. So anyway, join us live tomorrow morning. Till then, Clipper Bros.
You heard it here first. Have a great time. Turn up. Love you guys. Awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and good news for you, Andrew. You won't have to produce No Bunts, the baseball podcast. It's canceled because I was wrong. I said Avery Guthrie was an old baseball lefty, but Craig Falconer corrected me in the stream team. It's Mark Guthrie. I conflated Avery Guthrie, who I went to school with Mark Guthrie, a lefty, longtime lefty in the league. Long time lefty.
How was Avery at throwing the old, cork
Hard
ball?
skin.
Yeah.
Cork ball.
Was Avery good, Tess?
Yeah, Avery labeled me with the snowball once. I've got a scar from it.
Damn.
Cool.
Race the day, people.
You could stay